All right. So in these videos we're going to be looking at function operations, function compositions, and then later we'll look at how to determine if a function is even or odd. For now, let's begin with function operations. So we're given two functions, f of x, which is equal to x squared plus 1, which I've boxed in blue, and g of x, which is equal to 3x minus 2, which I've boxed in red. And with these two functions we're asked to find the following, so we'll look at example 1 here. We're asked to find f plus g of x. That's how we read that. F plus g of x. Or f of x plus g of x. These are the same thing. So when you see this, it means this, and vice versa. This one here is the one that's probably easiest to understand, but sometimes I'll ask you for this, and it's your job to know, oh, f plus g of x just means to take f of x and add it to g of x. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to take f of x and add it to g of x. So f of x, that's x squared plus 1, plus g of x, so plus 3x minus 2, would look like this. Okay, f of x plus g of x. And then the rest would just be to simplify it, to combine like terms and get a final answer. So there's only one square term, x squared. There's only one linear term, 3x. And then there's this positive 1 minus 2 to contend with, which is just adds to negative 1. And we're done. You get x squared plus 3x minus 1. Not bad. Remember, we're just asked to find the sum of these two. This is not an equation, so there's no need to factor this and try and solve. If this was equal to something, then we might need to solve for x. But it's not equal to anything. It just says, what's the sum? And we just found it. Okay, awesome. Second example, what's f minus g of x? Well, just like earlier, that means the same thing as f of x minus g of x. Excuse me. So again, when you see this, it means this. A lot of times on a test or a quiz, I'll ask you, what's f minus g of x? And it's your job to know, oh, f minus g of x is just asking me to take f of x and subtract g of x. Those mean the exact same thing. There is no difference in those two statements. So be familiar with both. All right. So f of x minus g of x. Let's look at this. F of x, so okay, x squared plus 1 minus, excuse me, minus g of x. So we're going to be super careful here when we subtract g of x. When we subtract g of x, we want to be very careful to put parentheses around g of x so that I remember not only am I subtracting 3x, but I'm also subtracting negative 2. It's super important to remember when we're subtracting functions to remember to distribute the negative. Okay? Very important to remember that. Okay, so let's look at this. So we have x squared plus 1 minus g of x minus 3x minus 2. So when we simplify, we get x squared plus 1 minus 3x plus 2. Combining like terms, x squared minus 3x plus 3 when I add the 1 and the 2. Awesome. Moving right along. In part 3 here, example number 3, we're going to find f times g of x. F times g of x. And just like every single time we have a function operation, f times g of x, we're asked, oh, that's really just f of x times g of x. These are the same thing. So be familiar with both ways of asking it. Did I ask you f of x times g of x, or did I ask you f times g of x? Those are the same thing. Okay. So f of x, that's x squared plus 1 times g of x 3x minus 2. Okay, so for this, we're going to have to FOIL this out. So first, x squared times 3x, that's 3x cubed. Outer, x squared times negative 2, that's negative 2x squared. Inner, 1 times 3x is positive 3x. And last, 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Looks like there are no like terms to combine, so we're done. Awesome. All right. Example 4. What is f divided by g of x? Remember, f divided by g of x is the exact same thing as f of x divided by g of x. So be familiar with both, depending on which type I ask. Okay? So f of x divided by g of x. So f of x on top, so what's that? X squared plus 1 divided by g of x divided by 3x minus 2. And this is actually our final answer. We would want to at least try to see, does the top factor? Here's a side example to give you, in this case, there's nothing we can simplify here. But for example, if I had x squared minus 9 over x minus 3, we should at least look and see if the top will factor, because x squared minus 9 factors into x minus 3x plus 3, and then something can cancel here, giving us just x plus 3. Right? So we want to see if we can simplify here. In this case, x squared plus 1 does not factor, because that's not a difference of two squares, that's a sum of two squares, and sums of two squares do not factor. Okay? So this is our final answer. Excellent. Let's look at 5 and 6, and then we'll end the video before we do anything with composition. So what's f plus g of 2? F plus g of 2. So up here I'm going to not do that. Up here I'm going to copy this real quick so that I can paste it here so that I have something to look at. Okay. So we have f of x and g of x, just like earlier. And in question 5, we're asked what's f plus g of 2. Now remember, f plus g of anything is the same exact thing as f of x plus g of x. So when I ask what's f plus g of 2, what I'm really asking is what's f of 2 plus g of 2. That's what this question is asking. So when I see f plus g in the parentheses of 2, I know that that means f of 2 plus g of 2. Okay. So let's find f of 2. F of 2 is what we get when we plug a 2 into the f function. So that would be 2 squared plus 1 plus g of 2, which is what you get when you plug in a 2 here. That would be 3 times 2 minus 2. Okay. A lot of you are probably doing this way faster, but we plugged in a 2 in for x into the blue function and got this. We plugged a 2 into the red function and got this, and then we're going to add those answers. Okay. 2 squared plus 1 is 4 plus 1, or 5, plus 3 times 2 minus 2 is like 6 minus 2, or 4, and 5 plus 4 is 9. Awesome. Let's look at the next example. Example 6. Last one for the video. F divided by g of 3. Again, reminder. F divided by g of 3 is the same exact thing as f of 3 divided by g of 3. Those mean the same thing. So this one doesn't look quite as familiar as this one, but they mean the same thing, and that's now our job to know that. F divided by g of 3 is asking you to take f of 3 on top and divide it by g of 3 on bottom. So what's f of 3 here? Well, f of 3, that's what's on top. That's what I get when I plug in a 3 here. I'm going to just do that in my head. 3 squared plus 1, that's like 9 plus 1, or 10. G of 3 on the bottom is what I get when I plug in a 3 here. So that's 3 times 3 minus 2, or 9 minus 2, or 7. And this is our final answer. We don't need to worry about getting a decimal.